I don't leave my house by 9 p.m. Years back, I left my house by 9 p.m. and I had an accident that almost took my life. Or anything love, I'm out of it. No love for life. You're welcome once again to my YouTube channel, Staying with Eve. And on here on this channel, we're all about self development, building beautiful interpersonal relationships, and also growth altogether. So I'm so glad to have you here once again with me. Thank you to my returning subscribers. You all are the ones still keeping me yapping. And thank you if you're new here and you find it quite interesting to stick with us. I'm so glad to have you here. So let's get right into the business of today. I have quite an interesting question, and this particular question is something that I recently find myself asking, especially when I'm about to make decisions around setting boundaries and all of that. And that question is: am I really setting a boundary, or am I actually building a wall over myself? Now, it might seem very confusing, but that forms the topic of discussion today. Building walls and setting boundaries. What's the difference between both of them? And both of them supposed to be for protection. So why are we trying to create a distinction between them? There's actually a very thin line between setting boundaries and building walls. And too often, we think when we're setting boundaries, we are protecting our peace, we are keeping our space to ourselves, and all of that. But deep down, we're just protecting our wounds, preventing them from being reopened. Are you actually setting boundaries, or are you just building walls? And if we're being honest, most of us don't actually know the one we are building. We are just building something, we are just setting something, but we don't know for sure if these are reactions or if they're actually protections as they should truly be. Now, what are boundaries and what are walls? Hmm. Boundaries are choices that are made to protect our peace, to protect our emotional well being, our time, our values. And by values, I also mean Christian standards and all of that, value systems. You set boundaries to protect all these things and to prevent people from constantly taking advantage of or trampling on these things that you hold worthwhile. Most boundaries are usually set on the grounds of clarity and communication. So you find out that for most people that are setting some boundaries, they're very clear about it. They are very certain about why they are setting it. I'm sorry, I can't talk to you by 9 p.m. because by 9 p.m. I'm always reading. Can we talk later by so time? And the person you're communicating to knows better than to call you another day by 9 p.m. That's a boundary that has been set, and it's one that is being communicated, and is one that is also very clear as to why it's being set. This is what I can give, this is what I'm okay with, this is what I am not okay with, and they're very clear about it. Walls, on the other hand, they are reactions built out of fear, out of pain. They often involve withdrawal, emotional numbness, and total avoidance. Most times, walls scream, "Don't come near me at all." Ah, good. So you realize that most walls are self-built barriers. They are oftentimes not about clarity. They are more about protection, preventing a wound from being reopened. Setting boundaries and building walls can look very much alike. Both of them can be saying no. Both of them can be saying I need space. Both of them can be saying I don't do this. However, the true difference in both of them is the motive behind them. Now, let me use the scenario to explain boundaries and walls. So, I can have a boundary that says I don't leave my house by 9 p.m. Why? Because by 9 p.m. I want to sleep. By 9 p.m. I want to sleep early so that I can start the next day early. Another person who is building walls might say, I don't leave my house by 9 p.m. Why? The person's reason is because years back, I left my house by 9 p.m. and I had an accident that almost took my life. Much as both of them are saying no, the reasons for the no are very distinct. One is proactive, the other one is in reaction to something. So you see that the action might look the same, but the motive is what sets them apart. So why both of them might really look the same from the outside, just look deeper and you definitely see that they are not the same. So the big question, where do walls actually come from? What makes people build these walls thinking that it's boundaries that they are setting? Walls are not just random. No, walls are not random. They are usually built in reaction to something, more like survival tactics. What walls do is that they protect you by keeping the hurt away, they protect you by keeping the harm away. But while they are keeping the harm away, they are also preventing you from healing. You might be responding to a pain you've seen other people feel, and because you don't want to feel that pain yourself, you build that protective wall over yourself. For example, some people grew up in homes where their parents were constantly fighting. They might grow up and eventually not have a partner that does that same thing. However, because they are very scared of experiencing that same thing, they stay away completely from the opposite gender and would rather not experience a marriage or love or any of those things just because they are very scared. Another instance is the crazy bad stories about relationships on the media and all of that. That's enough to even make people say, "Oh, anything love, I'm out of it." Basically, right? The response is out of fear because you hear crazy stories that you have not experienced yourself. But because those stories are so gory and crazy, you'd rather not experience that pain yourself. In that case, you set a boundary and say, no love for life. The thing about wars is that it always paints other people or other things as threats to your life. It always paints other people as harm, as hurt. So most times you're looking at everyone with suspicion. Like, are you real or are you not real? Are you good? Are you not good? Basically, you don't let anybody in because you're just suspecting everybody or more everybody's bad. It generalizes, it doesn't give benefit of doubt because of past experiences. But when it comes to boundaries, boundaries are ready to say, okay, I'll allow you on in, but this is where I stop and this is where you begin. Walls are set based off of assumptions. You don't even want to give anybody a chance. You just assume, oh, more everybody's bad. So I'd rather stay away from everybody and anybody. How good. When you're setting a healthy boundary, you're mostly setting it out of clarity of your values and not out of emotional fog or out of an emotional response. Now that I've realized that I've been building walls, how then do I tear down these walls because they are after my life? Now, if after all I've said, you've come to realize that, wow, over the years, I've actually been building walls instead of building boundaries, it's important for you to recognize that you are not bad. You're not a bad person for doing that. You are just responding to something. You just did what human beings would want to do, protect themselves from hurt and protect themselves from pain. The truth is that you did this protecting the best way you knew how, right? You might have never really known that you were building walls. You might have clearly or innocently thought that you were building boundaries. But now you know better because I've talked about these things, and I'm sure that some of you watching these videos, a form of reassessment is going on deep inside you, and you're beginning to check some things or some patterns that you've been very used to over the years, and you're beginning to reassess, just as I've also done my own reassessment. It's very possible for you to break down those walls one brick at a time. You might not be so fast in breaking it down completely because this is something you've built over the years, right? But then recognizing them and breaking them down one brick at a time, and eventually, before you know it, the entire wall is out. Then you begin to rebuild again, but this time with real clear boundaries. Just as I like saying, most things start first from being honest with yourself. Like sometimes I just sit and I wonder, is it really possible for me to lie to myself? Like actually lie to myself? Because I know the truth. So I don't know. I really don't know how these things works, but I don't know if it's very possible to lie to oneself. But if you think it's possible, you can let me know in the comment section, and I'll be more than glad to respond to your thought process as well. Most of the solutions to most problems start with recognizing that this is a problem. It means you have to ask yourself a whole lot of questions like, What hurt am I responding to? And saying this reminds me of a movie I saw on YouTube. And this particular movie I want to talk about is a movie by bolajiogunmola. The name is Ashabi'schild. In that particular movie, she had a childhood hurt, she had a childhood trauma, and I think her mother's brother, her uncle, used to sexually assault her as a kid, as a child, and her mom never believed her even when she opened up. So growing up, she eventually had her own child, right? However, for every time she saw that her child with her own brother, she always felt very insecure. The man was very close to his niece, but the mom was not very comfortable with it because she was responding to a hurt from her childhood. And I can remember one particular day she flared up on the fact that they were very close and was kind of protective of her child. She set a boundary between her child and her brother. Don't come near my child anymore, stay in your house. Imagine if she continued living that way. She might clearly not know that she's responding to a trauma. It looks like a boundary, but in this case, it's a protective wall. It's not a boundary, it's a wall that she has built over her child. So, when you're able to identify what made you build the wall in the first place, I think that's where most of the healing starts from. A lot of people are walking around with church hurts. You hear a lot of people say or speak of their bad experiences in church over the years, and as a result they stop going to church completely. Some people have tried this love thing a lot of times. Some people have tried friendship a lot of times, countless times, and for every single time they've tried making good friends, they were hurt every single time. So they build the wall and they're like, friends, there are no good friends in this world. That's exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, because you've given yourself time and time again, but you don't get the response that you were expecting. And as a result, you decide to completely shut down. It might look like a boundary, but it's actually a wall. So it's important to name it. And from naming it, that's where healing begins. How do I break down these walls? Number two, asking God to heal you. It's important to let someone in. And in this case, I highly recommend letting God in. Most times, when we talk about God's healing ability, when we talk about God's healing power, we tend to only lay it side by side with physical ailments. But then we forget that a lot of people, countless number of people, in millions, in billions, are walking around this world with different kinds of emotional hurts, different kinds of pain that they need true healing from. Majority of these people do not even know that they have that kind of hurt and that they really need healing. This particular instruction of letting God heal you lies at the center of any other advice I might possibly give you concerning how to break down these walls. Hey God, I'm here. I'm tired of hiding. Can you please take this wall away from me? And that's truly what God wants from you. He really does not want you to try to do things on your own, because that in itself is pride. He wants you to trust Him with all your heart, and He also wants you to acknowledge Him in all your ways. It's beautiful to see that you have a God who does not want you to rely on your own strength. Relying on your own strength would even be prideful. You're telling God, I can really do this by myself. And He would watch you try to do it by yourself, but eventually you'd find out that you really cannot do it on your own except He helps you to. And when you've relied not on your own strength, but on His own strength, He begins to teach you slowly, day by day, how to break down those walls, how to take it down a brick at a time. And just as I like saying, from God, every other thing flows. If it's friendships that you need, you'd send them your way. He knows if you need trust from people, you'd send them your way. He would meet you at the point of your needs and help you heal in the true sense of the word. Healing. Sometimes I feel like I need to flog myself because I give out advice, I dish out advice, but most times it's very difficult to take my own advice. And I'd have people meet me and they're like, hey, I benefited from this stuff you said, it really helped me. And then there's me. It might seem funny, but it's not funny. Just a few things to reflect on. A lot of people are usually very worried about setting healthy boundaries because they feel like setting those boundaries will keep people away, setting those boundaries will make them feel rejected, and all of that. There's a chance of being rejected, there's a chance of being isolated when you set boundaries. However, even in that isolation, even in that rejection, the people that are meant for you would still come despite the presence of those boundaries. They will still come your way. They would see your boundaries. They will not be offended by them. Instead, they will honor those boundaries. And sometimes, most of them even respect you more for drawing them in the first place. I think healthy boundaries are things that we should learn to set. I'm still learning to set boundaries myself. It's not just in the setting, it's also in the keeping to those boundaries that you have set for yourself. And I think that's the very difficult part, because if you set a boundary and you're not strong on those boundaries, you're not strong on those value systems that you set for yourself, and then people see you sway to the left, sway to the right, they become confused. And that's where asking for God's strength comes in, because it's so easy to say, hey, I'm not going to do this, hey, I don't do this. But then it becomes very confusing to people when they find you doing those things that you say you do not do. So it gives them the impression that, okay, this is a boundary, but it's not really a strong boundary. So I can come in and do anything I want and go out. So you don't want to give people that confused notion about yourself. You want to be clear in your principles, you want to be clear in your value systems. That builds more respect for you. So that's also one thing that I'm asking God for, the strength to keep to those boundaries that He has helped me set, or even the ones that I set out of my own accord. Here are some questions to reflect on from now going forward. Maybe when you're about to make a decision. Number one, you ask yourself, this decision I'm about to make, is it born out of fear? Is it born out of pain? Or is it truly coming from a place of peace? It's okay to try to protect yourself, but it's very important to clarify the motive behind the protection. Ask yourself, what past hurts do I think is shaping my current decision making skills? I'm so glad that you stayed with me to the end of this video, and I'm truly hopeful that at the end you'd benefit from these few lessons that I've taught. Please don't forget to like, to share, to comment, and importantly, to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Keep shining, keep healing, and I'll definitely see you on the next one. Bye.